Greetings and salutations, woodworking world.
Okay.
This is your favorite not woodworking podcast. Woodworking is bullshit. I'm your host, Paul Jasper, scientist by day, woodworker by night. And we have two co-hosts in the chair today. We have my man, Eric Curtis, fine furniture maker and content creator. And with us, our friend, who you may recognize if you're on the video feed, Jen, Pyrography Extraordinaire D'Orenzo.
Hello.
So, today's episode, we're recording actually because of Jen. Jen brought this question to me last week, and she felt pretty passionate about it. And so let's begin with the question for today's episode. Now, we've talked about pricing your work before, and the specific episode was price point, how to increase price point and the moral and ethical considerations of doing so. That was our first attempt at price point. And I think you remember that was with Jack, who's like, one way to increase the price point is to just
have the best voice in podcasting.
Is to just increase the fucking price point and stop being a little bitch and grow a sack. So that was the advice from that episode. But Jen,
you will not be hearing that from me.
There's always time, folks. We can turn this around. If we get Jen to speak in a sexy voice, we'll consider that a win for today.
If we get Jen to call somebody a little bitch, I will retire from podcasting because I will have accomplished my dreams.
I'm pretty sure I can.
Dreams.
It's a low bar, but I feel pretty good about it.
I'm pretty sure I can exasperate Jen to the point that she'll call me a little bitch. I'm almost positive.
Mm-mm.
I bet. You call me a big fat turd. I mean, is that different?
Yeah.
Is it? Let's dive into the ethical considerations here.
Okay, so what Jen brought up is a different pricing idea, which is, should you design your pieces to a price point? Meaning, think of a price point and design the piece to match that price point. And so today we're going to talk about, is designing to a price point a good idea, a bad idea? What are the implications of doing so? I think the three of us may have actually different ideas about this. So the first thing I want to do, and before, don't you fucking explain a thing. Listen, what I want to know is, do you typically design to a price point? Yes or no? Save the explanations for later. Okay? So Jen, do you design to a price point typically?
No.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
She's already qualified.
No, sometimes. Jen,
hard maybe.
Okay. Jen, what percent of the time, let's do a percent rather than yes or no. What percent of the time do you design to a price point, and what percent of the time do you just leave it open?
Let's say 50-50.
Okay. Eric, what is your percentage?
That's such a hard question because I'm going to do my best not to qualify this. Okay.
I can tell you're teeing it up.
Yeah, it's coming.
But I would say no with the asterisk of I typically work on commission and they by definition have a price that we've already settled on. So kind of.
Okay.
But I don't consider that the primary concern in the design process. So that's why I'm saying no.
And that's why I said the same thing. Only I just
All right.
chose not to explain it like Paul said. So.
Well, fuck Paul. Like I do what I want.
He's a little bitch.
I'm a salty little bitch. Paul, do you design to a price point?
Sometimes I would say I'm about 50-50-ish.
Oh, you literally just said we're all going to disagree, and then we had the same fucking answer.
Well, I said I design to a price point more often than you do, bitch.
Okay. All right, touche.
Why are you coming after me? Okay, so let's start then, Jen. Yeah. Let's start with I think we should talk about why would people design to a price point? Like, why is that a good thing to do?
So if we're going to start there, I think the main point of designing to a price point is so that your piece sells faster. If you are designing to, let's say, a low price point, something that you know will sell real quick, I'm more motivated to do that if I want to get it out of my studio faster. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah. So kind of like Eric was saying, though, like I would say 50% at least, if not more, of my work is commission based. And I do a lot of pet portraits. I know people don't want to be spending major bank on something like that. So I kind of have set prices that I know will sell, that I know I can easily
That you'll get a
do
yes.
yes and get a yes. Like it's 9 times out of 10, people say, yes, I can take that price and I'll get the job done and get it out.
So
Now,
you've already go ahead, Eric.
how did you come up with that price? Is that you threw a price out there and somebody said yes, and then you realized it took you way too many hours to do that, so you had to up your price over time and experience? Or is it you looking at the market and seeing what other people are selling pet portraits for and working within those boundaries?
The first thing you said, because honestly, I don't actually know what other people are charging for pet portraits. It's not like there's a master guide online anywhere. And most artists that at least I've checked out don't have their prices actually listed on their website because they want to be able to kind of judge the situation, not necessarily like see, oh, do you think I can charge more from this person or not, but just like at least with the work that I do, like certain like hair textures will take me longer and I'll charge a little bit more for something like that versus like a smooth coat dog.
So Jen,
So
why actually you bring up and we'll come back to designing to a price point for a sec. You bring up an interesting point that I've always wondered about. Why is everyone so chicken shit to publish their prices?
that's an
Because then you
excellent
can't
question.
charge people who can afford your work more money. It's as simple
Yeah.
as that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean,
Really?
right?
Yeah.
I mean, listen. What we are doing is we are creating products that are not scalable. So we're trying to price it as though it's a product that's repeatable, but the thing that we're doing is by hand, and so it's not scalable by definition. So we have to do it one at a time. And what that means is you're going to have an average price point. For some people, that's going to be a stretch. And for you as the person, and I should speak from the first person. For me as the creative person behind the piece, sometimes I'm going to make decisions that make it go over time and over budget, and that's the choice I make, and that's balanced out by people who can pay more for a similar object. So it all comes out in the wash. So I think that's why people don't do it, is they are trying to basically subsidize their income by having a kind of sliding price scale, for lack of a better way to phrase it.
So Eric,
Yeah,
do you think that by publishing all my prices on my website for the last 5 years, is that making a mistake or locking me in?
No, because you can always raise those prices. But maybe because then, somebody who wants a thing that you don't want to make, there's the fuck it price is a real thing, right? And like,
Yes.
if you
Yes.
don't want to make the thing, but they see you've already charged $400 for that box, and then you come around and you go, well, that box is going to be $1,000. They're like, well, what the fuck, man? You're not going to get that sale.
So I think what I've done is I've increased my prices on my website over time to reflect where I'm at. And I reprice things on the website like over, these are the prices you see now are not my 7-year ago price.
Right. Now, for the pieces that you have are your I don't want to do this ever again pieces that you
I
have,
usually
say,
double the
listed.
price.
So if somebody comes to you, though, and says, will you make me that for that price? Are you still willing to do it?
The old price?
No, whatever price you have listed on your website.
Oh,
The new-
so I put the fuck it price on something and someone's like, hey,
Yeah.
would you make that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Jen, you and I have 2 tea boxes on my website with fuck it prices
Yeah.
on them because you and I don't want to do them again. But
Yeah.
would we?
Right.
Would we? We absolutely would.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Well,
You're
so
right.
Yes, we.
what's the difference? Like, so what you're effectively doing by doing that is you're honing in on the same group of people who can afford that work and want to pay you for that work
Yeah.
without like you're
suppose.
doing it kind of preemptively. So you're not doing
Yeah.
anything different.
Yeah, I think I cater to the higher price group, and then if I want to give a discount, I can, and it makes people feel great. Like if I want
Sure,
to
sure.
make the sale to a person
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't have as much disposable income, I can always
Mm-hmm.
discount it, and then everything else is like regular price. Anyway, sorry, I just was curious. Like I'm always perplexed by how taboo pricing is, and I just don't feel like it should be as taboo, which is why I publish my prices. Everyone can see them. All the other word workers can see what I charge on my website, like, and they
But
have for.
we have a thing in American society about talking about money. People don't
Mm-hmm.
like to do it. We like to keep it secret. And like 200 years ago, it was the trade secrets that you kept under a blanket. Somebody would walk through your shop and you throw a blanket over your work so they couldn't see what you were working on or how you were going to do it. Right now, it's
Yeah.
money.
Humans.
Now it's protecting how much I'm going to charge for this so that you can't undercut me by $10. You can't prices right me.
Oh, humans. Okay, back to business. So I asked
Yeah.
Jen, why would someone want to design to a price point? And your answer was basically because they know they have a sale. It like
Yes.
guarantees the sale, right?
And if you do enough of it and you're getting enough product out of your studio, it's also going to help kind of build your notoriety for your work. And if the
Okay.
more people you get recognizing your work, maybe then you can start designing to higher price points down the road.
So, as I was reading your notes and your questions,
Yeah.
the first thing that jumped out at me is the question of scale, because it seems like you're flirting with this one-off versus product like situation. Like let's
Yeah.
let's take the concept as the product, maybe like the pet portrait. You've done a
Mm-hmm.
million pet portraits, you know roughly how long it's going to take. You can upcharge slightly.
Mm-hmm.
But so you can put those in a price bracket. You have a rough guideline on how to price those.
Yeah.
But the thing that you're describing is I couldn't tell if you are talking about designing an object to a price point for a one-off or for a thing that you are going to make repeatedly.
Oh, either.
Because that changes
Actually.
things.
Yeah.
But it
Either.
changes the way that you approach it, I think.
Okay, go ahead, Eric. How? Oh, sorry, Jen.
No, go ahead, Eric.
So I think if you are making a one-off, you kind of understand innately that you're probably going to eat some of the time. Whether it's in the design time, whether it's in I thought it was going in this direction, now it's going in this direction, or I made a mistake because I wasn't sure how to do this, so now I'm doing it this different way. You're going to eat that, which means you're going to lose profitability. If you are designing a product, what you are doing that first time is you're prototyping. And so by the time you
True.
hit, what you're looking at is designing to the price point of once you've, for lack of a better phrase, like effectively maximized efficiency.
Yes.
And so that changes the way that you approach the pricing structure.
I agree. Yes. But if you are making a piece that is just meant to be a one-off, that's it, no more, like it doesn't need to be a prototype, this is the only piece that you're going to do, I would hope that I would not eat my time. Do you know what I mean? Like I want to be able to charge something that'll make it worthwhile because this will be a one-of-a-kind special thing. So, like, for instance, Paul and I are brainstorming a new collaboration. And we plan on I plan on only making one of these. I don't know if Paul has the same idea or not, but we're kind of stuck right now deciding, do we want to have full-on creative freedom with this, or do we want this to sell fast? In which case we would need to kind of not stifle our creativity to a point, because if we go crazy, we'll have to charge more. But my question is, like, when you go crazy, or maybe I'll ask it as a question, when you have total creative freedom over something and you're giving it the best of everything that you've got, talent wise, skill wise, and you're posting that on your social media, do you find that those type of pieces get better views, better interaction, more interest in purchasing that item rather than the pieces that are more simple with a lower price point?
God, that's a hard question.
All right. The pieces where I've really reached have
Yeah.
not realized the price I hoped they would.
Really?
I don't think they ever
Consistently.
do.
They have
No.
not. Whereas the pieces that I thought were really good, like kind of like upper medium, like medium, but like upper medium, like really solid, have
Mm-hmm.
recognized prices above what I expected. So like when I
Really?
go for the max, I never get it. But if I'm like, yeah, let's do really good, sometimes it hits like bonus land.
Hmm.
It's
How do
weird.
you get to bonus land though? It's not like they're going to offer more than what you are
Oh,
asking.
right. Like I'll sell one, and then the next one I'll charge more, and the next person will say, "Absolutely, I love that
Okay.
box so much." And then the
So it's
next
not
one,
a
even
one-off
more.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's like
Okay.
2 or 3.
So what would you do though for like say this next project? I don't know if you
Oh,
want
with you and
to
me,
say what
you
it
could
is.
you
Yeah.
could talk about it. It's a traveling
Okay.
bar. It's like a traveling
Yeah.
liquor box. Like
Yes.
Eric, do you remember we saw that at the
Yeah, Winter.
Winter Thur?
Hell yeah.
Do you remember?
Hell
yeah,
Oh,
man.
okay.
Yep.
So for the audience who doesn't know this, right around the time COVID had just kind of let up, and the first, like the world was sort of opening again,
Mm-hmm.
I took a trip down the East Coast, and on my trip, Jen and Eric both live in Pennsylvania, and I stopped and visited both of them, and we all went to the Winterthur Museum together one day, the three of us.
Can I just say, Jen, you were a delight. You are a delight. I was reasonably convinced after that day that you would never speak to me again. I was afraid that I had offended you. So
No, it takes a whole lot to offend me. Seriously.
Dude, if she's friends with me, you know you're in the clear.
that's,
Yeah.
that's what I was like.
Look at this.
She likes this guy, so yeah. But at
So-
that Winter Museum,
Yeah.
As we were at Winterthur, Jen and I were walking through one of the rooms, and Jen, was it you who spied the liquor box?
I think it was, yeah, because I took pictures of it because I don't know, there was something about it that I loved. And
It was like a traveling bar, right?
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
like a traveling like a satchel almost with like 4 compartments and like a nice top, and
Yeah.
you
It's
could
like
put your
a bar and a purse, basically.
yeah.
you know how good that's gonna sell.
See, so that's
bar and a purse?
where we're at.
All right, but here's the
Do
thing.
we go full crazy and make it everything that we want to be and hope that it'll sell at that price that matches all of our time and effort that we put into it?
It's a gamble, right? It's like sitting
Right.
down at the poker table. It's do you put all your cards or all your chips into the table and you go like, I'm going to ride this one out? Because it only takes one. It only takes one person to be like, fuck, I need a bar and a purse, you know? and then
That's what we need to call it
and that
now.
person, but here's this is the tricky thing about what I was talking about, like scalability. Is it a product or is it a one-off? Because if it's a one-off,
It's a
then
one-off.
you need one person who loves your work to go, not only do I love Jen, not only do I love Paul, I love when they collaborate, and this is a really interesting idea, and I want to be a part of this, and I want to support them, and that invariably brings the price point up because you're doing something interesting and unique that you don't know how to do, and you're exploring and pushing yourself. And those people, like, we call them patrons for a reason, right? Those are
Yeah.
the people who are like, I want you to do shit that makes you a better artist, and I'm willing to fund your exploratory process. If it's a product and now Jen and Paul are not the focal point, then you have to start to consider how people are going to react to the object itself and not you, because you are no longer linked to the story of the object.
I think we definitely always try to have or share our story too behind our pieces, because I do think that helps sell things. At
Yeah,
least in my experience.
no,
Yeah.
100%. People,
Yeah.
I don't remember who said it, but like it's a well-known saying that people buy the artist, not the art. People are invested in you as the creative person, and they want to support you as the creative person.
Eric, you make good points.
But if you're not, if it's going to be a thing, the more you make, the more it becomes removed from you.
Yeah.
And so you price it differently, and you think about what the price is going to sell the 30th, the 50th, the 100th time you make it.
That's so good. Eric, that's
Yeah.
really great fucking advice. Good job.
Thanks, buddy. I've
It
been
hurts
making
me
shit
a
for a
little.
while.
It hurts me to say that.
Paul just died a little inside.
Oh, that was so good, Eric.
It happens. Okay. But so all right. So another question that I had, if I may cut Paul off, is the bracket. So are you trying to design to, and Jen, I'm asking you this specifically about this project. Okay. Are you trying to design to a price point or a price bracket? So let's put it this way. You walk into a craft show, and there are different tiers of craft shows, right? So let's say you walk into like a craft fair. It's outdoors. It's in a tent. There are people selling knickknacks and spoons and CNC signs. The bracket that person is willing to impulse buy something, maybe up to $100, $10 to $100. Over $100, people are going to be like, nah, not today. I got to think about it. A craft show like the PMA, the Philadelphia something craft show. That show, people might impulse buy a piece that's anywhere from $300 to $3,000.
Yeah.
You know, so what type of audience are you trying to put this in? What context does it live in? And what bracket are you working to sell? Because if you're saying, I want to sell this for $99, whatever the object, let's take the purse out of it. I want to sell this for $99. That's a hard thing to hit. And you got to go through a lot of iterations before you come out with that product. But if you're trying to say, I think it's going to be somewhere between $500 and $800, that's a window that's a little bit easier to hit. And then you have some leeway where you can maybe upsell like, hey, the ash is $500, but the walnut is $750.
I guess so. All of our work collaborations have just been put onto Instagram. That's like our craft fair. And on social media, you kind of have the whole spectrum looking at your stuff, right? So I don't know if I can fairly give a price bracket aiming for a particular set of people.
I'm going to push back on you. I don't think that's true, because you both have enough of an audience and have sold enough pieces on the internet that you know roughly what your price bracket is.
I know that this liquor box is not going to be any less than $2,000. I know it's in the multiple thousands. I know that. Because there's no way with what we've talked about doing with Jen, like putting pyrography, like imagery all over it, and like beautiful like drawers and open this and fall front that, like there's just, and like custom leather like strap over the shoulder, like there's just no way we're going to be able to do that for less than several thousand, like a few thousand.
Okay, so what are we talking? Give me a range here.
I mean, without knowing anything, I would think, a $3,000, $4,000 price range is
let's call it $3,000 to $5,000.
That's what I had in my head. Jen, what did you have in your head?
Probably about the same.
Okay.
And I wasn't talking like a whole spectrum of trying to appeal to the $99 crowd all the way up to $8,000.
I was throwing out random numbers just to like have different brackets of things.
So this is where we're stuck. Like, do we want to aim for that $5,000 or do we want to try to keep it to the $2,000? Because I kind of feel like that's a bit of a range, right? Like,
yeah, it is.
Sure. Well, okay. So let's think about the audience that you both have on Instagram as what type of audience, like what type of show you're at. Paul, have you sold a $2,000 piece on Instagram?
Yes.
Jen?
Yeah, with him.
Okay. Have you sold a $3,000 piece on Instagram?
Yes.
Yes. With him.
4?
I don't think we. No.
No.
Okay. So now we're talking. So we're kind of finding what the upper range of what your audience is willing to do. Now, if you have a thing that you think is like special, it's interesting, it's unique, and you are able to articulate to, again, it just takes the one person if you're not making a product.
Yes.
You did sell 4,000.
Yes.
Okay. So
What did we do?
I sold up to six once. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have that range of what your audience is willing to absorb. Of course, but it only takes one, you know? So if you have that range, now we know this is not a craft fair range. They're willing to invest in you as an artist, Paul. They're willing to invest in you as an artist, Jen. So can you make this thing in that window of 3 to 5? And you go like, okay, I know it's going to end up somewhere in here. And I feel like somebody's going to take it up. From my perspective, my approach.
What should we do?
What I would do is just make the fucking thing and look at it at the end and just go like you've both have enough experience to just kind of read the thing and go like, is somebody going to spend $4,700 for this thing, or is it a $3,200 thing?
Okay. I'm fine
with that. And then because it's still in that range, you're not losing money, at least.
The truth is we're not doing it solely for the money. I mean, Jen and I are doing this because we want it. We want to do it. I mean, I think
I've been wanting to do it since 2021. Yeah,
that's a big one. So, all right, but this is another thing, though, right? Because so what the value you're getting out of it is not exclusively the money.
Correct.
The value you're getting out of it is the portfolio. The value you're getting out of it is telling your audience that this is a thing you're looking to explore more in the future. Well, and Eric, maybe when you articulate that at a different time down the road in a different object, somebody's willing to invest in you to support you to do that.
Totally.
Yes.
I agree with that. I mean, Eric, I'll ask you, how often do you see like a world-class pyrography artist like Jen working with a woodworker, like a decent woodworker? Like, to me, it's so rare.
Yeah, not that often, man. Not that often.
Like, I never see that combination. Mm-hmm. So I think Jen and I, like, we get, it's so fun for the two of us because Jen has these canvases that are not just like slices of tree. And I get to see decoration on my pieces that I'm not capable of because I don't have those kind of artistic chops that Jen does. So I think it's like a win-win for both of us, regardless of the money in some ways.
Yeah. And like you said, or at least in my experience, any of the big ticket items that we have worked on will get more attention on social media than because like say novel. Right. So even if we don't sell it for the price that we want, at least we're building more of an audience that may want something bigger in the future.
I've had a number of times in my career already where somebody has been following me for, multiple years, 4, 5, 6 years, or somebody saw my work at a show in 2015 and then they get in touch in 2022 and they commission me to do a thing. But it's the thing that catches their eye. And that look, you could make this, bar purse and maybe it doesn't sell, or maybe it sells for 2,500 and you're like, gosh, fuck, that kind of sucks. But the value of doing a portfolio piece, even if you eat a little bit of the profits, is down the road. Now that exists in your vernacular. That's true. Down the road, somebody comes and they go like, that was a super fucking cool thing that you did. Can you do that for me? And now you're priced because you're fucking 7 years more experience. You're like, yeah, now that's a $7,000 piece.
So Eric, it's funny you say that because the Stadia whiskey cabinet that I did with Keith, the two of them. Mm-hmm. Well, the second one sold last week.
Yeah,
out of the thin blue air.
Yeah,
just out of nowhere.
Hell yeah, man!
The first one's in Japan. The second one's in Puerto Rico now.
Puerto Rico,
that's awesome.
All right.
And that's an example where Keith and I were hoping for like a higher price point for those.
Yeah.
There's so much fucking work.
Yeah.
They were
cool.
Definitely, they were pilot tests, but they were good pilot tests. We made them
sure.
good,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And we were hoping for like 4,800, 5,000 range. And they wind up solding for They sold for like 3,000 range instead
Sure.
of 5,000 range.
Sure.
But we had to take it with a grain of salt because Keith got his YouTube videos out of it. We had a fucking great time making it together.
There's so much value in that too.
It brought us together. I mean, we were in the
Aw.
shop together for days, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was so good. Like, I don't even care. I just want someone to enjoy it at this point,
And so that brings me to another question that I had reading your notes, Jen. Listen, I told you I prepared a little bit for this one, which is a nice change of pace. Okay, thank you. I need some positive reinforcement over here.
Agent of chaos.
So as I was reading, if we go way down to the bottom, we're talking about like you bring up this. You called it the pricing conundrum, and you use this person. This artist who is selling her paintings for $100, and she's making a bunch of them, selling them on Facebook. They're selling out immediately. And eventually, because of popular demand, she starts doing this thing. Well, she's not raising her price. And then she is, eventually she comes up with kind of a second bracket of $600 paintings, and she's selling those alongside, and they're both selling out. And the question is basically like, why didn't she raise her prices? And the thing, I don't know if this is a parable or a real person.
No, it's a real person.
Wait,
Just a real person.
Eric, as you read down, she did. If you read further down.
She raised her prices?
Yes.
Or that she came up with a third tier of 2,000 to sell along with the 600?
That third tier is a hypothetical. She has not yet done that. But that would be the next logical step for her.
You said she used to sell the paintings for 100. Then she came up with the best paintings for 600.
She was still selling both.
Still selling $100 paintings.
She was still
correct.
She will.
Yes.
Her plan is to always sell $100 paintings because her main goal, as stated in the article that I read, is that everybody should be able to have a piece of art in their
home. So this then brings up the point that I was going to talk about.
Go ahead.
Because asking yourself what your value add to your community is, or to the thing that you love is a really important thing to do. And if your value add, like if my priority is myself and my value add is money, then raising your prices is the thing to do. And I think that's the structure in which we are living. That's the structure in which we grew up. That's the thing that we know. That's what people encourage us to do. My value add in making things out of wood is not to make as much money as I can. My value add for myself is that I would be miserable doing anything else. And the value add for making content, now it's become my business. So there's other things tied in with it. But the reason I started is because sharing the things that I'm doing and teaching other people who might be going through a hard time in their lives to like find a thing that they can do and they can feel successful at and that can feel empowering, that's hugely impactful. And so that I get a lot of value out of that for me personally. And I think that reverberates in the community in some small way. And so the price point almost becomes secondary to the object and to the teaching other people how I make the object. So figuring out what your value is that you're trying to find and get out of it. Again, if it's only money, that's totally fine. But identifying what the primary value is and the secondary and tertiary value, I think that's an important thing that we don't often do when we're talking about pricing, because money is the thing that drives all of these conversations. So what I'm asking is, what's your value? Like, what's your value add? What is the thing you get out of pyrography? What is the thing you're hoping to get out of this liquor purse?
So I guess the main reason, I'm going to kind of rephrase your question a little bit. The main reason that I keep doing pet portraits, even though I am really burnt out on doing them, and that pun was totally intended, is because I know it makes people so happy.
Does that make you happy?
Yes, it does. So I'm not taking as many of those commissions anymore. But it's still something that I feel like I just can't let go of 100%.
Did you or do you have pets?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a dog.
Because that sounds like an answer of somebody who knows the difficulty and pain of losing a pet and multiple pets.
Yeah,
you know?
my dog is
And
12.
yeah, I
I'm
mean, my dog just died 6 months ago,
oh,
you
I'm
know?
sorry.
And
Oh, really,
it's
Eric?
yeah,
Your
Huck
family
died
I'm really
dog?
in August, yeah.
Oh,
I'm so
fuck.
sorry.
I know. And it's every fucking time it happens, it's fucking devastating, you know?
They're family. So
It is. It is. And
it
so
is
giving that back to somebody feels really important to you, even though you're
it
burnt
does.
out on it.
It does. Yep.
Okay.
So
So let's take pet portraits, one good example. Like you are a pet lover, you want to give something to those people. What's this purse given to you?
one, fun. Like I've been
That's
dying to do this
that
project.
has real value.
I feel like I finally have talked Paul into starting it.
Even though Jen loves to pretend like she just wants to shit on me 24/7, she has to admit that when we work together, it's fun as fuck.
It's fun. It's fun. But like the creativity, because I don't have a lot of creativity when I'm doing pet portraits.
Okay,
I'm
so
literally
what's
copying
the
a picture.
creativity here? What are you
For
going to
the-
do with it?
for the
That's it.
purse?
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have a list of ideas of things that we want to do to this. So it started off with just this plain. I mean, the wine liquor box at Winterthur really is not that impressive. It
So
just kind of
we've evolved it out of that.
Okay.
it's just sparked something in us, I guess, that we want to make it bigger and better. Like Paul
A
was saying,
traveling
like
bar, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm so freaking excited, but like now I'm at the point of brainstorming like, okay, what do I burn on it? Are we going to have a theme? Like what clientele market are we trying to sell this to? Is it going to be for females? Is it going to be geared towards men? Like I don't know. It's just
But see,
it's all
that's
up in
almost
the
like
air.
designing to a price point in a way.
Yeah, you're designing to a group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but do you find that men or women pay more than the other?
No. It's different from
Yeah.
the price point itself, but
Yeah.
you're still like, whether you're designing to a price point, which is a group of people who can afford that price point, or
Right.
a group of people by gender, nationality, like whatever the
Yeah.
modifications are, they're similar. But so you're articulating this huge amount of excitement to do the thing, this creative freedom that you want to have in this thing.
Because I don't get that pretty much anywhere else. So my fear with designing to a price point is that it's again going to stifle my creativity, because I just want to go
Okay, Jen,
crazy.
can I suggest something? I'm just
Absolutely.
gonna put this out here.
Yeah.
Fuck the price point.
Well,
just fucking do the thing.
that's my goal. Paul's the one that brought up having a price point, if I'm going to be honest.
Well, I was thinking a little practically at the time, but
bus meet Paul.
well, Eric, you've kind of convinced me. Like, we just fucking, who cares? Throw caution to the wind.
Who
just go for
cares,
it.
man? Just
Yeah, I'm
do
with
the
you.
thing.
I'm with you.
And
because
if it sits for a while,
then
so
it
be
sits
it.
for a fucking while.
And if we
because
discount it, so what?
yes, because it could. First of all, there's no point in doing a thing that you think will sell if it's going to make you miserable doing the thing and burn you out more, and then you stop doing the fucking thing that you want to do anyway. What's the point of that? Just get a real fucking job. There's zero point in that, right?
Eric, I
But-
have a real fucking job.
You do. You
Oh,
do.
you're the only one that does.
Jen and I don't. Okay, we're out here just fucking riding the wave. All right, cowboy. But the other thing is like so the rejuvenation of the creative process has a tremendous amount of value outside of the financial. Now, in an ideal world, you would at a minimum recoup your costs, and then of course, in a perfect world, you would get your time back. And maybe you would even get paid a little extra because it's special and it's unique and it's different and nobody's seen it before. But the potential, anytime you do something that is outside of that window that people know you for, they might hesitate to engage with it.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way to get them to engage with it over time is to continue to introduce them to those new types of things.
Oh,
Like you
Eric.
nudge the
Eric.
people who want to support you 5%. You can't just turn it
Yeah.
90 degrees.
Eric, fuck you. You're right again.
I have a point to make.
Okay, go ahead.
With Paul bringing up, Paul, the only one with a real job is the one bringing up, telling me that we should have a price point. I just have to throw that out there.
This motherfucker out here. Old Daddy Greenbacks, we call him, motherfucker. All about them Benjis.
Old Daddy Greenbacks.
I'm using that. I'm going to use that.
Old Daddy Greenbacks.
We got Aloha Wood out of the last episode. Old Daddy Greenbacks is coming for a t-shirt on this
Don't
one.
forget Phineas Tooneman, Eric. Okay, wait. Okay,
So-
we've gone way off, way off the outline that I had in mind.
Okay, bring it back, buddy.
But
Bring
I
it
think
back.
it's Eric. You've really touched on some excellent points. I just see this is where like sometimes the episodes go off the path that I imagine them going on, and I have like notes in front of me to keep them on the path. But like you have brought this conversation like it went way off the path from what I expected. But you
Shocking.
covered some such great points through this, like using me and Jen as an example. Like it was so fucking good. God damn you! All right.
You're welcome. I love you too. I will say, and maybe we do we have anything else to cover on this? Because
Yes.
Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
God,
Well,
yes.
well,
Okay.
in that-
So I want to have a little more structured look at designing to a price point, right? I think there are some pros and some cons against it, and I'd like to go through them. And Eric, I think you're in a great position to push back after I go through these. Like, I want your reaction after I go through these because I think you're the most outside. Like Jen and I are kind of like unified on this, and I think it would be interesting to hear your view. So, pros. Like the pros of designing to a price point. It can help sales. That's what Jen said, because you target a specific audience with a specific price point. Totally on board with that. Number 2, limitations can actually help the creative process because instead of a white piece of paper in front of you, you have very specific design considerations. And that we know that can help, right? We know that. We've talked about that many times. The third thing, you can make more pieces per year because they're like simpler. You can like iterate faster. And we know that helps with not only your own personal development, but also building a buying audience. So Eric, there is, you talked about the pricing conundrum. This woman who like sold her paintings for $100 and they sold out. And then the audience grew and they kept selling out. And then she introduced $600 and those sold out. And now she's thinking about multi-thousand and they're going to sell out because as she iterates on those $100 pieces, her buying audience is getting larger and larger and larger over time. So there's an audience enlargement piece to that story that we didn't quite touch on, which I think is important. And finally, does designing to a price point force you to be creative in new and different ways? It almost throws down the gauntlet of like, what can I do within the confines of the next 6 hours on this piece? Okay, so those are some of the pros. What are the cons designing to a price point? Well, it puts limits on your creativity as far as what you can do. It's going to be probably lacking novelty, like big, bold ideas that do so well on social media. Like that's not going to be in a price limited piece, right? Those like big, bold, paradigm shaking ideas come when you really break the mold. You're not like, oh, I'm already at $500 worth of effort. I got to stop, right? Okay. Then the third con is you may be missing out on identifying your really big spenders because you're not like going for it. You're saying, oh, here's another $100 painting. Here's another $200 this. And so like, how do you identify your big spenders if you're not going for it? Okay. Another con you may get comfortable at that price point, and then you're scared to elevate the price in the future. Right? So those are some cons against it. So I've listed some pros about, like, it helps sales. It helps with creativity because limitations can help that. It means you iterate more. And then there's cons, like you limit your creativity and you don't identify your big buyers. And, you might get stuck in that kind of small-minded thinking. So Eric,
Okay,
what do you think?
Can we go through? So I agree with some, I disagree with others. Can we go
Please.
through these one by one and
Sure.
just like agree, disagree, and why?
Yep. Go ahead.
So the first one right off the jump, the first pro,
It can help sales.
It can help sales because you're targeting a specific audience with price point.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that, but you also kind of like, that's not dissimilar. It's kind of two sides of the same coin to the con of you might get stuck at that price point and scared to go up for fear of failure.
Yep.
So it's a both and, right? Like, what your audience is willing to buy. We've already established. So Paul, your audience is willing to spend up to 6,000. Jen, up to 4,000. So you can work within that. But what if you make a piece that's 8,000? Like, are you going to be afraid to raise it up? So they're more or less, the same argument in reverse.
Okay.
Let's see. The limitations can absolutely help the creative process by focusing the path. I agree with that 100%. So giving yourself some limitations can really remind you to not go overboard and just get the fucking thing done. So I agree with that 100. It means you make more pieces per year. Does it? Does it though?
Yes, it does. 100%.
How do you? That was the one that was holding me up too. Like,
okay. Why does that hold you up, Jen?
Because you're designing to a lower price point. If I'm just focusing, like, take that woman with the $100 paintings. If that's all I'm doing, I'm gonna get bored real fast.
Yeah, but you're gonna look. Come on, this is not like there's no mystery here, Scooby Doo. Like, Jen, how many $100 pet portraits can you make in a year versus $1,000 portraits? Right?
Yeah, I can, but am I going to?
Well, that's a different question. Whether you have the motivation to do it, but I think
it's an important question. If you're assuming robotic output.
Eric, if I decide in a year that I'm going to make Stadia boxes, I can make several hundred easily, no problem. As opposed to like 5 big pieces, right? So sure, you know what I'm saying? Smaller pieces, you can iterate more. That's just the
okay. All right, that's fair.
Go ahead, Jen.
Let's take a look at your coasters that you did. Was that before Christmas?
Yeah.
You made those to a certain price point, right?
I did. Yep.
Okay. Would you want to keep doing those over and over and over and over and over and over and over?
Fuck no.
Yeah. And so at some point what happens is it's a Tuesday at 8 a.m. and you're like, I really don't want to go fucking make coasters. So then now all of a sudden you're in the shop, instead of 8 a.m., you're in the shop at like 8:45. And then it's like lunch is at noon, but now it's 11:30 and you're like, I'm fucking over watching the CNC. Yeah. So your output slows because of lack of motivation.
And lack of creativity. And I think that's just as important as the can you and the will you.
Okay, but look, bear with me. I think iteration,
I'm trying.
Making many of a thing has really, really positive impacts.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, agreed. And I have a parable, right? And I think you both know it, but just bear with me because I don't know if the listeners know this parable. It's a parable about creative work it's from David Bales and Ted Orland's book, Art and Fear. Okay, it's about a pottery class. Okay, so let me just tell you this parable because I think this kind of summarizes what I'm getting at with this point. A ceramic teacher announced on opening day that he was dividing the class into 2 groups. All those on the left side of the studio, he said, you would be graded solely on the quantity of work that you produced. All right. And so that's the left side on the quantity of work. On the right side, you'll be graded solely on the quality of work you produce. Okay. The procedure was simple. On the final day of class, he would bring in his scale and weigh the work on the quantity group. 50 pounds of pots gives you an A, 40 pounds of pots gets you a B, and so on and so forth. Those being graded on the quality part, however, it's not about the weight you produce. They would be graded on only one pot, albeit a perfect pot. To get an A, you have to produce one perfect pot. Okay? Quantity versus quality. Well, apparently came grading time, and if a very curious fact emerged that the works of highest quality were all produced by the quantity group, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems that while the quantity group was churning out pot after pot after pot and piles of work and learning from their mistakes as they did the quantity piece, that also led to quality at the same time. Meanwhile, the quality group sat theorizing about perfection and in the end had little more to show for their efforts than grandiose theories and a pile of dead clay.
I agree with that 1000%.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with the point that you're making, that making more objects makes you a better master of whatever craft you exist in. I am very much of the opinion of quantity over quality. And you make a bunch of shit, and then accidentally one day you make a good thing, and then you try to figure out how you did that. But it comes from just making a bunch of shit. The thing that I'm pushing back on is that is inherently separate from price point. I think the way that you're pitching that to us is if you're looking for a lower price point, you care less, which is a fair point. I
Mm-hmm.
think. Correct me if I'm mistaken.
Well, I'm
in
saying if you make a lot of objects at a lower price point, you will arrive at quality sooner that you can charge a higher price point for.
that. Okay, all right. I won't push back against that statement.
Jen?
But are the things that you're making at the lower price point even what's the word I'm trying to think of? Will it affect whatever the big thing is that you're trying to do? Like all these little pyrography pieces, are they
Well,
going to? I
Well,
don't know.
Jen, let's use the Stadia collection as an example.
Okay.
I've made
Okay.
hundreds and hundreds of tiny little Stadia boxes. You've
Mm-hmm.
decorated many of them with pet portraits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that led me on the path to make a $3,000 Stadia whiskey cabinet. I don't know that that whiskey cabinet would exist had it not been for doing the hard work of just iterating on that shape so many times that it was stuck in my fucking head.
Okay.
I hear that, and I think that's a totally reasonable point. What I want to know is, where did the Stadia box originate? What was the first Stadia box you ever made?
I was researching the idea of human preference for shape,
Mm-hmm.
and the answer was curvilinear. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
what's the simplest shape I could make a box
Mm-hmm.
that's curvilinear?
And how did you make it?
With a router? What do you mean?
Yeah. What was the actual process to make the thing with the router?
I dug
The
it
first
out
one you ever
I
made?
dug it out with Forstner, like
The
drill
first one you
press.
ever made was
Yeah,
Forstner bits, right?
first,
And
yeah,
then
like drill press and then router. to
right.
kind of clean
And
it
how
up.
many
Yeah.
did you make like that?
One.
Okay, and then you made a router jig, like
Yes,
a, like a
yes,
like a
yes,
full
yes, yes,
actual
yes.
ass jig. And how
Yes.
many did you make like that?
I would say about 30 to 50, and then I had a close call with the router where it almost ripped off some of my fingers and sparks went flying and it scared the shit out of me. And then I bought a CNC because of
Okay,
that.
and so we're talking about a 3-stage evolution of this box, right? Forstner bit and chisels, router jig, and then CNC.
Correct.
And then you learned the CNC, and I'm assuming that the process of efficiency, learning the machine, and then learning how to just jig it up and let it go, that's gotten faster over time as well. So you can kind
Way
of break
faster.
that down in like a
Way
couple of
faster.
different phases.
Way-
So this product has evolved over time.
Correct.
How has the price changed?
A little.
A
Not
little,
a
but
lot.
it's probably not gone down, right?
It hasn't gone down, but I tried
Okay.
to keep it reasonable.
Okay. But you made a thing and you charged X, and let's just say X plus 1. So by the time you've made your 100th and you're way more efficient at it, now you're charging more money for that object.
This is correct. I charge the same money or slightly more money for something that takes less time.
Okay. So price point has nothing to do with this thing. It's just purely iterating because you had the idea that you wanted to make an object that was soft and was attractive to human beings, and it just so happened to work, and that gave you the excitement, the buy-in to iterate this thing through more and more different processes and make it more and more efficient to keep it affordable.
Correct.
So the price point that you initially sold it at, like when it was a theory versus what it is now, those are two entirely different things. They're entirely separate.
Fair. Mm-hmm. Jen, you're grinning like a Cheshire cat over there. What are you thinking?
I just like seeing Eric tear you apart. That's all.
It wasn't. We're not trying to tear him apart.
But I could see in your face that you're like, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. And I was like, yes, do it.
Well, because he's talking about the design and execution of like designing to a price point so that you can make more of an object. But the first time that you made this object, it like you just wanted to explore the idea of making something that was attractive to human beings. And it just, again, so let's take the Stadia boxes out of it. How many objects have you explored with the idea of like, maybe this works, maybe it doesn't, and then nobody buys it, and then you go like, all right, well, maybe I don't explore that.
Maybe like 3 to 5.
Yeah. So okay. All right. So that's 3 to 5 different objects that could have been products that don't end up becoming products. Price point be damned. It's just that it didn't happen to catch on. You figure out the price point after people show some interest.
So Eric, is your point, is your overarching point, don't worry about price point. Just do the thing if you really want to do it. Worry about price later. Is that what you're saying?
Worry about the thing, and then if it works, like you don't know that it's going to work. You have no fucking idea. You could be designing the next BlackBerry where it's like, it's hot for a hot second and then nobody gives a fuck about it. Whereas like the goal is to design the iPhone, right? So do the thing, see if it works. And if it works, then worry about how you're going to produce more at a reasonable rate.
Okay,
people.
So now what you're talking about actually is an evolution of price point. I was talking about this with Jen. So you start, your first couple versions are like low price. I don't know where this is going. I don't know how to make it yet. We're just trying some shit out, low price. And then as the demand is obvious and consistent, then you can iterate, make more, raise the price, make more, raise the price, add more, raise the price. Like it's kind of like an evolutionary, right? An evolution in pricing.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the tea boxes. We did the first one, had it sold before I was even done. So we made another one. It sold before I was done. And then we were like, we're done. But people, at least on my end, people kept messaging me asking if we were going to make more. And at that point, we were ready to move on to the next thing. And you put it up on your website at the I don't want to do this again price. And
we haven't had any more.
And we haven't had any more.
That's how you know you priced it right then.
That's right. So I think the price that we did sell it at was the price. At least I don't think anybody has asked you for one.
Sorry. Jen, I'm sorry.
The price that we sold it at is the price.
Is the most we're going to get.
And Eric, she's Stone Cold sober tonight.
Yeah, I'm drinking water. So I meant like that's what we're gonna get. I don't think we're ever gonna get the price that you have it on your website.
No, you flooded the market, and that's good. It's saturated. You know what the market's gonna absorb, but that comes through iteration. That doesn't come through the idea of like I'm gonna develop a product and people are gonna buy it for X.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we hit a couple of the cons real quick before we move on?
Yeah,
so the con, it puts limits on your creativity as far as how much you can do. I completely disagree with that. There's the adage, I'm assuming it exists outside of cabinet shops, but I've only ever heard it kind of in the trades of like the way to figure out the most efficient way to do a thing is to give the laziest man on the job the hardest task, right? And then he'll just figure out the path of least resistance. So I don't think that it limits your creativity. I think it puts restraints on how much time that you can give to an object. But then your job as the creative person is to figure out a more efficient path to do the thing that you want to do.
I don't know, Eric.
No.
You're fucking playing word games. That's fucking semantics.
I think
No. I don't think I'm not trying to play semantics.
Jen,
what I'm trying to say,
take his ass down.
What I'm trying to say, very briefly, and then Jen, I'll let you make your point. What I'm trying to say is, like, if you want to do X, but you only have Y number of hours, and it won't work, your job is to figure out how to do X more efficiently, or don't do X. Those are your options.
I'm not worried about time though. Like when I wrote that question, my thought was actual creative freedom. Like I'm just going to keep using the wine purse. Like all these things that we want to do to it, like the leather strap, the brass hinges, the pyrography, like all those things will add up time-wise, but they also add up cost-wise. So at least on Paul's end, because he's the one doing all that work.
Paul doesn't matter.
He's the one flipping the bill out here.
Paul doesn't matter.
He's the sugar
Daddy
daddy.
Greenbacks.
Yeah.
So
Daddy Greenbacks.
I had to use it again.
DG.
Oh my Christ.
Oh my God. So like that's where I meant like creatively, like if you are designing to a price point, say all those things add up to $5,000, but we only want to sell it for $3,000, then we can't do all of those things that we wanted
That's
to
fair.
do.
So I was thinking more like your time costs more in an object than the materials, but that's a fair point. If I'm making a dining table for $4,000 and somebody wants a slab that costs $20,000, well, that's outside the budget, so it limits things. That's a fair point. Okay,
that's also why I don't charge for my time. Like I feel like that's I take that into factor. Like I factor in my time, but I don't have like a set hourly rate. I don't keep track of how much time it takes me to do something. One, because I'm constantly interrupted by one thing or another.
Sure.
But two, like so I've been brainstorming this project. I have notes since 2021. There's no way I can charge for all that time.
No, you can't.
And I feel like even if it wasn't since 2021, like we spend so much time going back and forth, brainstorming, figuring out what kind of wood you want to use. Like, can you charge somebody for all of that? It's going to go, your price point's going to go way up. So you obviously charge maybe for how much time it took you to actually make the thing, but that's not all of it on our end. Do you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean, and you're 100% correct.
So that's why time is a factor, but I don't have an hourly rate. I don't think that that's fair.
I don't charge by the hour either. I typically try to envision, if I wasn't making content, how many weeks would it take me to do the thing? And then within the week, I have a lot of flexibility, right? Could be a 40-hour week, could be an 80-hour week, but at least I get to make that decision. Because to your point, like there are times where and I've said this before, I'm walking around the streets of Philadelphia, chewing on the cud of some idea. And I don't know.
Are you a cow?
Yeah, a little bit. And how do you charge it? Because like I could be thinking about 3 different things simultaneously. I could be 2 whiskeys deep walking around thinking about life, and then all of a sudden the idea pops in my head. I'm not keeping track of the minutes I'm thinking about that.
Right.
So there is no way to charge for that.
But to your point of like the whole, given the most ineffective guy in the shop the hardest task, like that is kind of mostly focused on time. And to Paul's point, the question, like it's stifling your creativity. I don't think it's the same thing. Like I think they're two separate points.
That is a fair rebuttal.
Yeah, Eric.
I say, yeah, bitch.
Any other rebuttals, Eric?
The only other one that jumps out to me is the novelty and amazing big bold ideas do very well on social media, and you may be forfeiting that opportunity. Novelty doesn't necessarily always do well on social media, but I think the point that you're making is like you know, the 100th pet portrait you make probably isn't going to go viral.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right?
think novelty is a key component of going viral
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
social
No,
media.
I think the things that do go viral typically are
Are novel. Yes.
but I'm
Right.
not. But everything novel doesn't go viral.
That's true.
You know.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
you have a greater chance of that happening if you are doing something
Sure,
novel.
100%. However, it's also like you're playing a numbers game and you're playing a game with and maybe against the algorithm. So I would say the majority of the people who go viral, at least in our space, are content creators who are monetizing the content's virality. And that matters. So let's take that. I've used this example on the pod before, but I'll use it again. And this is no shade to either person who put out this content because they both did all of the right things, right?
Okay.
So Larissa has been making timbre cabinets forever, and she made this carved timbre cabinet. And last year at a party, Johnny from Johnny Builds was there,
Right.
and he saw the cabinet and he went, "That's dope as fuck." And it inspired him to make a carved timbre cabinet. And before he put the content out, before he put the video out, he shot Larissa a text and he was like, "Hey, are you cool with me putting this content out because I got it from you?" And Larissa, being the wonderful human being she is, she's like, "I didn't invent timbre cabinets. I didn't invent carved doors. Fucking do what you got to do, man." Now, Johnny's a professional content creator. Johnny has a big following and big reach. And so that goes big viral. That goes, like a couple mil.
Yep.
Johnny gets paid across Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And then Jeff from Two Moose sees Johnny do that. And Jeff is a professional content creator. And he goes, "Well, that's going viral. So I should jump on that train." And it was still novel enough that also went big viral. So this thing happens where like it's novel, and people see that, and then people who don't know how the game works or maybe are a little bit jaded about the social media game think like, well, maybe Johnny sold that cabinet and that's helpful for Johnny. Johnny didn't give a fuck about whether the cabinet sold because he got paid good money on the content itself. So I guess I want to, chasing virality for the sake of selling a thing versus getting paid for the content itself. Those are kind of two different avenues.
Good.
Sure.
Yeah, good distinction.
And not all of us are, get paid for content. So that's a different side of things too.
Sure.
Like,
but
yeah.
also what that means is like the algorithm favors the people who are going to reach broader audiences and keep them on the platform longer. So if you do a thing and it doesn't go viral and you're like, fuck, man, like I was really hoping, it might just be the circumstances.
Yeah,
so
could be.
it's, it's kind of, it's lose-lose in that regard.
I see. So when Jen and I hope to go viral on a novel piece, I think we do it for the reason you mentioned earlier in the show, Eric, which is a year or two from now, maybe that customer who saw that will reach back out at a later time and be like, "Paul, Jen, I love what you guys do together.
Yeah.
I want to, yeah."
So
So
and like you said, it only takes one person to want the thing.
Right. So I'll give you a perfect example of this, and a little bit of the like. It's not a fuck it price because it was within a budget. But so I made a coopered front cabinet, another whiskey cabinet, last year for a gallery show, and it didn't sell at the show, and it came back, and I was disappointed because I was like, like I kind of priced it to sell at the show, and
how much was it?
I want to say it was like 4. It was right around 4, 38, 4, something like that. And galleries take a not insubstantial cut,
like
right?
50%.
So, yeah, most galleries take 50%. This gallery only takes 30, which is a fucking miracle.
Steal.
But so it comes back, and I was like, whatever. Like I made it because I wanted to make it, and it was a thing that was important. But like, fine. Literally like 4 days ago, I got a DM from somebody who wanted to commission a cabinet, and he kept referencing that cabinet. And he was like, this is the thing, and now the circumstances were such, given where it's going to go in his house, that cabinet's not going to work. So we're going to do a different one. But He saw that cabinet
Yeah,
and went,
good
I want to
point.
pay you to make a cabinet.
Good point.
So without that cabinet, who knows if that commission comes through, you know?
Did the original cabinet ever sell?
No, it's hanging up next to my bed.
Yeah, it is, bitch. Well, you win some and you lose some. Like
so you win
said.
some and you lose some, baby.
No, but that's a really good example of don't like if a piece doesn't sell, don't sweat it. It may actually help sell future other pieces. That's a great point.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're at an hour 10. I feel Jen. Do you feel like this was your brainchild, designing to a price point? Jen, do you feel as though we covered all the key concepts you wanted to bring up? And feel free to elongate if we didn't.
Let me take. I feel like we did. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
My hardest dilemma when thinking of any price, whether it's to a price point or actually I already did the thing and now I need to think of a price, is just like, how do I put a value on something that I take into consideration time, materials, and like just the fun that you had, the literal blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it. Like, I feel like I always want to charge more, but I know I can't. And I'm sure that every artist feels that way, because most artists, no matter what medium you're doing, you're kind of putting a little bit of your soul into your work, and it's hard to imagine letting go of something, even a piece that really means a lot to you. Like I still love that second tea box that we did.
I know you do.
I mean, that will always kill me that we sold that, but like I wanted to sell it. I want somebody else to enjoy it, you know? So yeah, that's the only other thing that I thought about talking about. It's just like that conundrum that I'm sure everybody goes through.
Oh, between like what you thought the price point should be and like you got emotionally invested during the journey. And then you loved it so much at the end. It's like, oh, how do I sell it for that? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. I mean,
well, I had that recently with a skull cabinet I made. Like it was this William and Mary
that thing was so
skull.
cool.
Like, and I planned to sell it. I planned to sell it the whole time, and I was going to go between 6,000 and 10,000 on this cabinet because it was super, super involved, super fine furniture. Like every bit of detail, like I spared no detail. I went for it. And as I got closer and closer to it, and I started thinking about taking photos, I was actually going to ask Justin maybe to make a video of like the inspiration that brought this piece into being.
Yeah.
I thought about that,
and
I asked Justin, "Would you do that?" And he's like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, man, no problem." Like Justin was going to do that, and as I got closer and closer, Jen, speaking to your point, I was so in love with this cabinet, I couldn't sell it.
You didn't sell it?
I didn't. I want it. I just couldn't. Like, I love it so much. I'm like, why am I giving this away? I love this thing. I want to see it every day of my life. I want my family to love it. I want my child to love it, who's going to inherit it someday. I didn't sell it. It was.
Do you regret that?
No.
Do you regret? Say you could have gotten 10 grand for it, the highest amount that you ever could have made.
Not a bit.
Is this
the piece and the lineage and the what do you say? The life that piece will have in my family and my house with my family members for the rest of my life means more to me than $10,000.
Because you have another job.
Because I haven't. Oh, dude!
She said, "Cause you all fucking Danny Greenbacks out here, of course."
DJ. No, absolutely. Because if it was about like affording food for my family or a place to live, you damn well bet I would have sold that motherfucker. But I have a job, so I didn't have to.
And then you would have regretted it, though. Like,
but that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Is like, you're in a position, thankfully, that you don't have to compromise, which is wonderful. But when you do have to make those compromises, there are a couple of pieces that like, I'm like, man, I wish I hadn't sold that, But I mean,
give me one.
Now there's nowhere where this would exist in my house, but the demi-lune that I made in school, because there's so many techniques that I would never do now. And it's like that was maybe the piece that challenged me the most while I was in school. And I think also the novelty probably of that's the only piece I did sell from school. So it's a little bit of like seller's remorse.
Where's
like,
it live now?
Somebody in Boston, and it fits their home, but it's a little bit like I have all of the learning pieces and I can kind of see my journey. Except that one. It's like a blank page in the notebook, But so Jen, the other thing I noticed in this discussion of pricing is, if you'll allow me to poke and prod just for a moment.
Absolutely.
There's quite a bit of self-doubt. And I think that there's the struggle of getting attached to a thing is one thing, and then not wanting to sell it. That's one thing. But also the vulnerability is it's very real. The vulnerability of I poured my heart into this thing and now it's going to have an actual number value on it. And that's going to reflect what I'm worth as an artist, not what the object is worth.
Yeah,
that's a real thing that we contend with. Yeah. And the thing that I want to say to you and to everybody listening, because I'm sure a lot of folks deal with this self-doubt. I know that I have, and occasionally I still do, is you're worth every single penny that somebody is willing to pay you for that piece, and probably more because you weren't willing to ask enough for it. And it's you never feel guilty about somebody paying you for your time and your work and your expertise, because they're paying you for that piece, but they're also paying you for the decade of experience that you have, right? And they can always find somebody. If they wanted to find the cheapest option, they would find the cheapest option. What they want is Jen's work.
So when I met Jen, she was very reticent to raise prices and ask a lot for her work. She was very, very hesitant. And I was like, Jen, you don't understand how good you are.
I appreciate that, buddy.
I know it's weird. I know I've told you this before, and I know it's hard to hear, but you are literally, without exaggeration, world-class pyrography artist. And I know that's weird because you feel like, oh, it's just little old me. It's little old Jen in her house with their children. I went to art school and right, because you feel like you don't feel, oh, okay. But honestly, Jen, if you look around out there and you look at the number of artists who are capable of that level that you're at, it's exceedingly small. It's such a minute group of people. So from that point of view, and Eric, I think this is how Jen and I started collaborating. I was like, Jen, we got to push this price point. And she did. And Jen did push the price point. And what she noticed is she still sold shit. And now eventually she got to a price point where the sales started declining some, but that's okay because she was making twice as much as she used to make.
Well, and that's also how you know what the market will absorb, right? If I came out tomorrow and sold that whole table I just made for $20,000, nobody would buy it. People would be like, what the fuck, man? Who the fuck do you think you are? But that grows over time slowly. And then at some point you find out where the market is saturated and you go okay, this is where I live. This is what people, but it's hard to the point that I was making. It's really hard. It's scary to push that further and further because anytime somebody says no, it feels like a reflection on your humanity.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Not the object.
Yes. Absolutely, it does. Yeah, it does. When I was selling things at a lower price point, they would sell quickly. And then I'm like, oh, could I have charged more for that? But I didn't until Paul talked me into it. Also, I've only been wood burning since 2017, and when did we meet?
Jen, that doesn't matter.
But it did to me, though. It did to me. Imposter syndrome is a real thing.
No way. Your artistic skills could have manifested in any medium. It didn't have to be woodworking. Wood burning. It could have been any medium, and you would have been like whoosh right to the top. Like you have the underlying skill sets to manifest your art in almost any medium. It just turns out that wood burning was what happened.
And I feel like I mean, I do other mediums. That's what I went to school for. But I feel like I took off in the wood burning world because it was a novelty at the time.
Yes, and there's so
making
few
that little
people.
full circle. Yeah,
There's so few people who do it, and even fewer who do it with a furniture maker, right?
pretty
or
sure
like
we're
a-
the only ones.
I know. I've never seen anyone. Everyone's just
Yeah.
taking like a slice of a tree and like doing a portrait. So like rare, like that novelty component rises higher and higher and I think that's helped our price point.
But that's also like, so I don't want to just consistently shit on the novelty of it as though it's like, this is a thing that we're doing, so it's doing well because nobody else is doing it. Because that's good, but that also has a mildly negative connotation. Like it's only successful because nobody else is doing it. But that's just you guys finding your voice. Like that's you finding the thing that you do that works and succeeds. And so you keep doing it and it becomes a positive feedback loop. That's a good thing. Like, before the Beatles, there wasn't like digital, or not digital, but like there wasn't that manipulation in studio of like soundtracks and feedback loops and all of this weird like fucking hippie music until they made it popular. And then people went like, holy shit, like this is something new and it works. So let's do that. And then that spawns other things. So it's you guys figuring out your niche and giving an audience a chance to support you in that niche.
All right, Eric.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, good point. Yeah. So we're at an hour 20 now, and we
we should shift. All right.
Yeah, so let's skip the second segment. We'll put that in the after show.
That's a good after show seg. All right. So we do need to give a shout out to our sponsor, our Lord, our Savior, William Teresa Burkle. And he is
not Teresa. His middle name is not Teresa.
That's a Garen goddamn. That's an Eric Curtis guarantee. He is once again sponsoring this episode. So here's what I want to know, Jen. I'm going to ask you a few questions based on what they're selling over there, and I want to know what you think these things are. Okay.
I love it.
So first and foremost,
just got really hot in here.
First and foremost, from April 21st until June 20th, they're doing a giveaway of mag switch. Jen, what's a mag switch?
A magnetic switch.
All right, if you're gonna be a basic bitch about
it. Is it woodworking related?
Yes, it is. The name of the store is WTB Woodworking, so we can assume that everything in there is roughly related to woodworking. Give me a specific, okay, all right. Let me ask you a different question. How would you employ a mag switch product in your shop?
What do you do with your mag switch?
What do you do with your mag switch? When the cat's away, the mouse come out to play. What do you do with your mag switch?
I use it to smooth my wood.
All right. Okay. Interesting.
I just killed Paul.
So
I don't know what to say to that.
So MagSwitch makes a product called a Pro Vertical Featherboard. What do you think that does?
That sounds like a cat toy.
Yeah, a Pro Vertical Featherboard?
Yeah, it sounds like a cat toy.
That sounds like a BDSM toy if I'm reading that. Okay, it's a cat toy. All right.
Sounds like...
Okay. All right. So on that note, a dual roller guide. What do you think? What do you got? What do you think?
Say that again?
A dual roller guide?
Oh. I'm going to say it's a set of rollers that you put your wood slab on so that you can feed it into
what
a
machine?
planer.
This is crucial.
A planer? Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of like a power feed situation?
Yeah,
or is
let's go with
it
that.
an underbrace?
Eric, I got to be honest. She's pretty close.
She's not far away.
She's very close.
Okay. Well, a dual roller guide in this circumstance is actually a resaw guide. So
Okay.
you talk about bearings on the resaw, but there are roller guides that are stands for like extra support for extra length. So I'm going to give that to you. That's a
Jen,
check.
you got
That's a
credit
check.
for that one. You got
That's
it.
a check.
Yes. I'm proud
Featherboard,
of
you got a minus, but
I would like to
we
give her
got that.
credit for the cat toy.
Can you
credit
tell
for
me
the
what
cat
it
toy.
is?
The featherboard? A featherboard is a product that keeps pressure against a piece of wood to push it against the fence. So it looks kind of like fingers at an angle. And so
How
the
is that
reason it's
feather?
shaped, well, it kind of looks like the strands of a feather. So the
Oh.
reason it's angled that way so that it can go through in one direction, but it can't go through in the other direction.
Okay.
Friction will push it against the fence and stop it from doing that.
Okay.
So I've got so both of those products are made by MagSwitch, and they're doing a giveaway until June 21st. So the total value is $1,029.82. So you can go register at wtbwoodworking.com/giveaway. Jen, I've got one more riddle for you. I want you to complete this saying for me.
Okay.
Blank goes together like Festool and Franks. I'll say that one more time. Blank goes together like Festool and Franks.
Blank goes together? A fest. What the heck is
What
that?
goes together like Festool and hot dogs? Like what do we got here?
Oh, you actually mean hot dogs? I don't even know what
I don't mean a
Festool-
guy named Frank.
I don't know. I don't even know what Festool is.
Hit me with something. Now be
let's go with-
mindful. It does have to rhyme.
It has a rhyme. I was gonna say baked beans.
Baked beans.
I like having baked beans with hot dogs.
What? Who are you? What?
Eric, take
baked
the answer
bean,
and
though?
move on, dude.
What the fuck? Hold on. No. Garbage. What the fuck is a baked bean hot dog?
No, not on my hot dog.
Okay, so it's not like a
next
chili
to.
dog situation.
Ew.
Oh,
No.
Jesus, Eric.
Okay, all right. Well, I still don't love it, but I'm gonna let it slide.
What is it? What
There's
is
no
a
answer.
festool?
It's
But
a
what's a
creative
festool?
opportunity.
What's a festool?
What's a festool?
I love
What's a
it, Jen.
festool?
Jen, I love it. I love it.
Well, you see, Bill does Festool Fridays, which is every Friday from 11:45 to 12:45. You can come get a hot dog and watch a live Festool demonstration, which is a tool brand.
Okay.
You seem dissatisfied with that answer.
Eric, she's going to
Yeah.
light you up in the after show. I guarantee it.
All right, so in the after show, me, Paul, and Phineas Tuneman are going to talk about needless tools and what we think are the absolute non-essentials in the shop and why the fuck are these even made.
We should also talk about Jen's sequel book that she's
Nope.
writing to
Nope.
Fire
Nope.
and Fins and the
Nope.
journey of Phineas Tuneman.
Have we
All of that is wrong.
have we released the first book yet? What are we
No.
doing here?
It's in the query trenches, as Jen DiRenzo.writer likes to say.
Oh,
Is this like
jeez.
a Zanga site? Like, what's the situation out here?
I don't even want to know what that is.
The sequel is going to be called Gonads and
Nope.
Goldfish.
Nope. Oh my gosh.
Well, on that note, let's wrap this shit up. Thanks, Jen.
Good app,
Jen.
Jen. Thank you.
Thank you. This, like,
Ugh.
even though we covered pricing in a different way before, I think this was a totally fresh conversation about whether you should design to a price point or not. And Eric, so many good points today. Jen, thank you for bringing this up today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brand.
All right, we'll see you in the after show. If you
Our
want the
friend
video
knows-
feed and the after show, just subscribe to our Patreon. You know where that is.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.